or they don't have much interaction or friends in their personal life, and they use teaching or use the classroom as a fuel to get validation from students. But we need to always remember that there's a line and there's a boundary.
I always knew your love is more than I could think about. This life is so sweet, blessings I count down.
17, 18, 19, you shower your blessings on me. Blessings just keep on piling. That is the way you love me, You know they use me play.
Welcome back to my channel. So I'm just gonna get straight into it. So as you saw by the title of the video, I am going to be talking about just teaching, and I know a lot of you guys have seen the video that went viral of the young black teacher who, or should I say the black teacher who allowed his female students to unbraid his hair. And there was different views and opinions about that video on social media. Some people thought it was inappropriate due to the professionalism and teacher standards, and other people just thought, you know what, he's being a friendly teacher that the students can connect with. This video that I'm doing today is not about him at all. I'm literally just talking about my experience as a young female black teacher teaching in a secondary school, in a high school setting. So, and just some lessons that I've learned along the way. Again, I'm still young, I'm still growing into it all, but I just wanted to share the lessons and experiences that I've gone through. Number one, and this is one thing I put on my teacher TikTok page, and I've got a teacher TikTok page. Teaching is not an aesthetic. It is not an aesthetic. Like, when you go into teaching, you need to realize that this job is, it's a rewarding, but it's also a challenging job. So I know you guys see a lot, and even myself, I do post content on my teacher TikTok account, but you may see the glamorous parts of it. You may see the get readies with me, you may see the decorate my classroom, you know, the conversations with our students, and just all those things that may seem good, but there's a lot that goes into the job, and it really does depend on what school you work at. And if you have worked at, and I'm going to talk about my story afterwards, but if you've worked in a difficult school, don't be discouraged too much. And I know how it gets, but one thing you need to remember and realize is that every school is different. This school may be very challenging for you, but you could move to another school that is much more better and much more peaceful. So, but yeah, I say that to say, guys, teaching is not an aesthetic, just as a pretty job. It really isn't. There's a lot that goes into it, whether it's work, you know, we have to do work, preparing lessons, planning lessons. Some schools mark, thankfully at my school we don't mark books, we only mark assessments. Data, doing reports, dealing with behavior management, and that's a big one that I'm going to talk about. So there's a lot that goes into teaching. It's not a soft life job. It is actually not a soft life job. You need to know why you're going into it, and I'm going to talk about that later on as well. And even me being myself as a Christian, I've learned and realized that teaching literally takes the grace of God. Like, if you don't pray, this career can actually crumble. Like, not even just the career, like anything, any career that you are in the medical field, in the legal field, in government, politics, even if you got a sporting career, whatever you do, like if you do not pray as a believer, you can literally crumble. Teaching takes the grace of God. Like, I've got so many amazing testimonies, so many amazing stories, but even through what I've learned as well, and what I've seen, and even what I've seen other teachers go through, what I've seen and heard from other teachers, it does take a lot of diligence, grace, patience, the job does. But you need to remember that it's also rewarding, because there's nothing greater than having your students say, oh miss, thank you for the lesson, the lesson was fun, or miss is my favorite teacher, or you know, I enjoy your lessons. Or even on results day, when your students do extremely well in their grades, and just seeing them smile. I think, you know, these are the rewarding parts of the career. And I remember I saw 2 videos on TikTok, and I going to do a video in response to those, but it was 2 teachers from America. One of the members of staff, he literally he lost it. He threw the table. He got to the point of, and I was so sad because I could feel his sadness, his frustration, and he was just done. He was just tired and telling the students like, you guys are so disrespectful. And in the other video, this other teacher, literally mid-lesson, he got his bag and he left the room. He was done with the disrespect, the talking and the back chatting, and some of the students, as he was walking out the classroom, had the audacity to laugh at him. And when I saw those two videos, I was like, wow. Now, personally, I've gotten to that point in my teaching career, and I've been in this for about almost 5 years now, or just about 4.5 years, and I have seen some stuff. And even when I first started teaching, one of the things that I struggled with the most was behavior management. Like, guys, and it is true what people say, as much as you love the subject you're teaching, and you should love what you're teaching, one of the things that you need to master is behavior management. Because I remember having lessons where I was spending 60% of the time managing behavior and 40% was actually teaching, because someone's always got to talk, someone's got a particular need, this person's walking around the classroom, this person's in a bad mood, or they're having a bad day, this person's walking in late, that person's disrupting another student, that person's falling out with their friend, or they're talking across the room. There is a lot that goes on in the classroom, and you need to be mindful and aware of that. And also, like, one thing I realized as well, guys, and again, I understand the generation that are some years younger than me, because I'm on social media and I see how a lot of the way teenagers act nowadays, they get it from music videos, or not music, they get it from songs that they listen to, these rappers and their famous artists, or social media and influencers. A lot of how they act is what they see online or on social media, or the people that they hang out with outside of school, whether that's their older brothers and sisters or their cousins, who may not always be the best influence. But again, what I'm saying is subjective, because it really does depend on the school you work at. The reality is some schools don't have some of these issues that I'm talking about, right? And again, if you're someone who's considering where to send your child to school, I highly recommend you read their online report. For example, here in the UK, we have what's called Ofsted, and Ofsted pretty much review every school in terms of how they're doing, pupil progress, the environment of the school, just the overall school, like an evaluation on the school, and the report is published online. So I highly recommend you do that. And if you can as well, go and visit the school, whether you're sending your child to school or if you're looking for where to work, go and visit the school, because that will help a lot with that. But yeah, guys, like, every school is different. Like, what I'm saying right now, unfortunately, may be the case for most state schools, or even academies. But some places, grammar schools or private schools, they may not have these behavior issues. The challenge on that side for teachers may be workload, as in their workload. Again, this is just me, but I assume that their workload might be a bit higher, or, having to figure out new challenges for the students, because the students are always over excelling. It really does depend on what school you work at. I might do a separate video on that, as in how I actually got into teaching and why I decided to get into teaching. But yeah, like I said, the first school that I worked at, it was a great school. It was an outstanding school, but the workload, the teacher workload was out of the world. I remember every single week I had to mark just over 500 books, literally, and the school was rated outstanding by Ofsted, so it was a very good school, right? But as teachers, there was so much paperwork, and sometimes, I'm just going to be real, as a teacher, it can get a bit frustrating when you're putting in all the effort, you're doing all the marking, and then when your students get the book, they don't even look at the marking, they don't look at the corrections, or they don't even care. So the workload was a lot, and I just felt like at that particular school there was no work-life balance. Like, I'd be minding my own business, living my life on the weekends, and then I'd get a random text message or random call that, you know, you got this deadline in 2 days, or you got that deadline next Tuesday, this has got to be done, call me now, we got to sort something out. And I just thought, like, my whole life, literally, guys, even in the holiday seasons, as teachers we do get a lot of holidays, but even in the holiday seasons I found that it felt like we did not have a life, and it was a lot. And I literally got to the point of going to work and seeing other members of staff cry. I remember walking into one of our staff rooms, and one of the most loveliest teachers, she was having a breakdown in the staff room, and that kind of confirmed it for me. I remember saying, God, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't want to, I'm young, I'm fresh out of uni, I was 21, and I was like, God, I don't want to do this. I want to be able to go to work and enjoy. I want to go to work and be in peace and leave the building in peace as well, and not have to go home in pieces. So yeah, that school was difficult, but I got through it. I finished that academic year, and then I decided I don't want to go back into teaching, so I ended up working in a bank for a few months, literally like from September till December. And literally, it's a long story, like I said, I'm going to do a separate video, but I felt led in my heart, and I knew it was God to go back into teaching, and I had no idea why. But then I applied for a job in November, and I got the confirmation that I got the job, and I started that new job in January. Never thought I'd be back in the classroom, but honestly, ever since I came back to teaching, I've been working at my school now for 2 years, yeah, almost 3 years, but it's been officially 2 years. And honestly, it's been a journey. But when I first started the school, oh my gosh, guys, it was hard, because, and it was another state school, and this particular school, a lot of the classes that were given to me, they had supply teachers so many times before that. And that's another thing, guys, people are leaving teaching, coming into teaching, leaving, going out. So teacher retention is quite low, as in some schools are literally trying to find a way to keep their members of staff in the school, because at the end of the academic year, it's sad that, you know, you do have quite a high amount of teachers who do leave. And again, this is subjective, because every school varies, every school is different. But yeah, I found it really hard. Like, I remember I had 2 classes in particular that were just out of this world. I remember going to work in the morning actually being scared to go into the classroom, because I knew that I was entering pretty much like a war zone. But without getting into too much detail, guys, it gets better with time. My students, they got to know me for who I am, and I built that positive rapport with my students, like a good relationship with my students, and I carried on with those classes, and I've been able to see them grow. And again, like what I said, it does get better with time. And that's one thing that my manager, I love her so much. Like, she's helped me. She's literally a gift from God. For those of you who are applying for jobs, or you're hoping for a job, make sure you pray for the right manager or the right leadership, because if it wasn't for my head teacher, and he's a Christian man on fire for God, other colleagues, even those of my colleagues who are Christians, who would pray for me, I don't know what I would have done on this job, because they were really there to help me. But at my new school now, the work-life balance is so much better. Yeah, the work-life balance is so much better. You can work part-time, you know, we're not forced to mark books. It depends on what department you're in. So in my department, because I teach religion and philosophy, we don't mark books, we only mark assessments. And then we've got reports and data to do at least twice a year. So it's not as bad compared to other schools. And compared to other schools where you have to start work until a certain time, unless if we've got a staff meeting after school, we do have the luxury of leaving school straight away once we've done with our job, which is nice as well. To understand why you're going into it, why do you want to be a teacher? Again, I can speak for myself as a young teacher. It's nice to be cool, it's nice to have, and it's important to have a good relationship with your student. Like, I've got And I'm grateful to God that I say this. And for those who have followed my journey on TikTok and those who know me personally, like, there's been a lot of testimonies as I've been in my career, and I'm just grateful to see how God is using me on my job. And I always have this saying that my job is not just a job, it's not just a career, but my job, what I do, is also my ministry, and I take it very seriously. But I say that to say it's not just about being a cool teacher. Yes, you can show up to school and be cool, you know, have the best outfits, you know, record content for social media and for TikTok. But I think it's always important that we examine, what is your motive? Like, nice being a teacher, I want to, you know, you can say, I want to be I want to be the cool young teacher. But in all of that, there's still work to do. You know, you're still going to face some challenges. Just know your reasoning, like, why do you want to actually go through it? Do you have a passion for these students? And one thing I also learned in my career, guys, students are watching you. Like, I remember one time I heard about this particular class, and this was actually one of my hardest classes that I dealt with. And I remember some of the girls coming to tell me that, oh, miss, we found you on social media, we found your TikTok. And that was really God reminding me that people are watching you. And I'd say even as a teacher, and even in most careers, people are watching you. As teachers, we always need to be mindful. It doesn't matter how old you are, whether you're a younger teacher, a middle-aged or older teacher, students are watching us, and we've always got to be the right example, offline and online as well. And just some of the things that I noted on my TikTok page, that you should not get into teaching to fuel your rejection issues or past trauma. Because and I understand this, because like I said, I'm so grateful that it's literally a blessing from God that I've got a great relationship with all of my classes, all of my students. Yes, they have their moments. Well, we have our moments where I have to tell them off for talking, but on the whole, I love my students and I have a heart for them. I really do. And I'm grateful that they honor me as their teacher. They respect me as well. But I remember I had a student come and tell me, miss, I love going to your classes and another teacher's classes, because I have one of my other teachers, they don't treat me like a human being, or they treat me, the way they teach me is like I'm dumb. That's what she was saying. And I've even seen the way some students have interactions with certain teachers. And one thing I remember, our head teacher gave me an opportunity to speak at our staff briefing, our staff meeting about 2 years ago now, and it was such an honor. And one thing that I said to the staff members was, students can tell, they can sense you. Like, children are very sensitive, and if you've got some trauma, I believe that they can tell when you're bleeding on them. Don't go into teaching because you felt like you were the one that want to dominate people on purpose, or don't go into teaching and as a way to get quick money, because, you know, it honestly, it depends where you work in the world, because in some parts of the world teachers are getting paid really good money, and in other parts of the world they may not be getting as much as they would want. But don't get into teaching because of the money. You need to know what you're doing, because if you're in it for the money, or if you're in it just to have something to do, you are going to scar children. You are going to scar them, because they can tell, and students can sense when a teacher or an adult or someone in authority doesn't like them or has a negative heart. Like, guys, and I've seen it sadly from other teachers. They don't smile, they are not friendly, they're not nice to students, they shout and scream all day, they don't have a warm spirit. And children, young people in general can sense that. So don't go into teaching because of the money, or, you know, and just be very, very careful. Yes, you know, people as humans, we have all gone through a level of hurt, pain or trauma or whatever it is. But I believe that, you know, because we're working with young people, because we're working with humans, we need to be very sensitive with how we treat them, and also remembering that these students are going to remember how you treated them. Like even me, when I look back, I can still remember my teachers from nursery, from infant school, from primary school, from secondary school. Like I still remember, and you need to understand that students will remember the way you treated them, and they will remember how they felt in that moment with however you treated them. And also, just as a side point as well, don't get into teaching, like I said, to fuel your rejection issues, because some people out there in the world, and this is just a general comment, maybe going into teaching because they were probably the left out one at school, or they were the bullied one, or they don't have much interaction or friends in their personal life, and they use teaching or use the classroom as a fuel to get validation from students, or they want to be seen as the best teacher ever, as the coolest one in the world, just for validation. Really assess your heart. Like, what is your motive behind what you're doing? What is your intention behind why you're doing what you're doing in the classroom? These students are human beings with souls, and we must always be cautious of that at all times. Oh, and another thing as well that I've got to say, don't just get into teaching because of your degree, guys. And this goes back to what I've constantly said, you must have a passion for what you are doing. Some people, and I've heard it from people as well, people that have left teaching, or, you know, stories from other people, that they just went into teaching because they finished their degree at university and they had nothing else to do. They did not know what they wanted to do, so they just decided to just go into teaching. And it is a reality that there is a high teacher demand across the world, and teaching is something that's always going to be in. It doesn't matter if you live in the UAE, United Arab Emirates, Africa, Asia, America, Canada, Europe, United Kingdom, Australia, wherever you are in the world, we are always going to need teachers. Like, teachers will always be in demand. But honestly, guys, don't get into it just because you don't know what to do, because like I said, there's a lot that goes into it. As rewarding as it is, there's a lot of challenges, and you need to be diligent and patient enough to go through the process of teaching and with the students. But guys, just to end it all off, like I said, I feel like this video's been everywhere. Like, I've just been spewing out so much different advice and stuff, and I might do a Q&A. If you got any other questions, please put it in the description box. Not description box, I say that all the time. Please put it in the comments, and I will probably do a separate Q&A video, or a separate video in terms of my teaching journey, like a bit more in depth. But just to find a few notes, teaching is a calling. You must carry out this career with intentionality and wisdom. Teaching is a calling. Like I said, you're not dealing with robots. You are not dealing with random toys. You are dealing with human beings. You are dealing with souls. You are dealing with children, and you are essentially their second parents. You are shaping them up for their tomorrow, for their next day. So take it seriously. You are shaping their spirits. Like I said, I view this as a ministry, so I know that I have an obligation not just to give them the content for their exam or the content to progress them academically, but I know that I have a duty to also take care of their soul and their spirit, and I do so through mentoring, being like a sister figure in a sensible way to my students, and praying for them. I have a Bible study club. I really like to be holistic with my approach. So yes, we're taking care of the academic side, but also their soul, inner healing, and their spiritual being needs to be taken care of as well. I'm going to end it here, but I'm just going to say this last thing. As teachers, and I'm sure this goes for any career, especially to those of you who are young teachers like myself, we see a lot. Like I said, I know we want to be cool and honored, and which is great. Mentorship in that teenage year, or even like those who teach middle school or primary school, is very important to be that positive role model figure. But I'm gonna end the video off by saying wisdom is needed at all times. Wisdom is needed at all times, and we cannot be oblivious. I think that's one thing that you need to pray for, yearn for, and desire, is wisdom. Because let me tell you something, there's so many stories out there it takes one accusation. It takes one accusation. You may think that what you're doing seems innocent, and that could be absolutely anything, but in the eyes of someone else, that could be quite inappropriate. So I just wanted to remind you guys as well, whether you're thinking about going into teaching, or you're new into teaching, or you're quite advanced in your career, please keep wisdom at the forefront of everything you do. Boundaries, there should be a line, especially those of us that work in secondary schools, with high school students. As a female teacher, yet is great. Again, relationship rapport is very, very good. It's very healthy, but we need to always remember that there's a line and there's a boundary, and communicating that to our students. There's a lot that we can talk to in regards to that, but wisdom is the prime thing, and even the Bible talks a lot about wisdom, having wisdom by your side, locked in your heart. But yeah, like I said, guys, it takes one accusation. A parent could be upset with what you've done, or what you are doing, and they can report you. And but yeah, talk to your school, view the measures. I know some schools absolutely don't like their teachers to be posting online social media content about their job, and that goes for multiple and various careers as well. It's just like in some careers you can't go to work talking about your religion or about God or anything like that. Use wisdom. Does everything need to be recorded? That's something that you should ask yourself as well. Does every little thing need to be recorded? Could it be something that you verbally speak without recording? Could it be something that you type and upload that as a inspirational quote, or like a paragraph about what happened in your classroom or on your job? Does everything need to be recorded? I believe that wisdom is going to help you navigate this career of teaching. But yeah, safeguarding is very important. I know here in the UK, as you're training to be a teacher, as you're doing your postgraduate degree, there's something that we follow called the teacher standards, and this is a list of things that are required from all teachers in the UK, professionally, on your job, in terms of what you're doing in the classroom and in your personal conduct as a member of staff in a school. Safeguarding is very important. Like I said, we see it all the time in news that this teacher has been held accountable, for a particular criminal offense, or this teacher's done that, this teacher's been exposed. So please, as you are going into teaching or considering it, or those of you who are in teaching, especially those of us who are young, please be wise and always remember safeguarding. Safeguarding is so important. Guys, as I was saying, it's really important. I think the lighting's changed. I don't know if it's the lighting's changed, but yeah, guys, just be careful. Just use wisdom in everything that you do with your job, in how you interact with your students, how you talk to them, and how close you allow them to get to you. Just make sure you use wisdom. I hope you guys got something from this video. If you got any other questions or anything that you want to contribute, or you just want to discuss, please put it in the comments and I'll get back to you. Hopefully this will be the start of me recording more content. I'm working on my consistency. I know that I need to be more consistent, but thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope that this video inspired someone who wants to become a teacher, or that it just gave you a new perspective into how teaching really is. Thank you so much to you all for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. And guys, I'll see you in my next video. Take care.
Give me money, 17, 18, 19. You shower your blessings on me. Blessings just keep on piling. That is the way you love me, 18, 19.